Good afternoon. It's Thursday, and it's time for you to be adrenalized. That's right, folks. It's time to get that blood flowing and get re-energized. Why? Because you're here, you're alive, and it's time to be motivated to live your best life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tom Marino Show. I'm your host, Mindset and Success Strategy Coach Tom Marino. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Happy Thursday, everybody. It's the end of another great week. I hope that you've had an awesome week. I hope that you are taking care of you. I hope that you've taken a break this summer. I hope that you're going on vacation. And listen, there's nothing better than taking some time. Sometimes we just need a break. You know, I was talking about this over the week. It's so good to just take a break sometimes. Step away, get refreshed, get some clarity. That's what a vacation is. It's the opportunity to take a step away. If you go away on vacation and you bring your phone and you bring your email from work and you're following all of that and it's not your own business, then you need to stop doing that right away. Because when you work for somebody else, you need to take a break. You need to take a break from all of it. And frankly, when you run your own business too, you need to take a break. You need to have things set up and work really hard to get things set up so you have a limited number of distractions when you're away on vacation. So if you're going on vacation in the next couple of weeks, I want you to do something. Don't look at your email. If somebody really needs to reach you and it's an emergency, let them call you. Let them send you a quick text. But don't shut off that email. Shut off all those distractions. Take the time for you. It's time for you to take a break. You know, before we get into today's show, I want to thank our sponsor, New House Restoration, where they turn your damaged old house into a new house. Visit them at newhouserestoration.com. That's newhouserestoration.com. If you've had a fire, flood, sewer backup, or asbestos that needs to be removed, contact New House Restoration. You can give them a call at 631-604-8590. That's 631-604-8590. So we also have a new sponsor that's going to be joining the Tom Marino Show. That's Ticket Time USA. My friend Tom over at Ticket Time USA. You can find him on Instagram at Ticket Time USA. And listen, if you want to go to any event, comedy, WWE, you want to go to, a concert, give Ticket Time USA a direct message right on Instagram, and they will get you the best tickets possible in your budget, and they will work with you in your budget. So reach out to them at Ticket Time USA. That's Ticket Time USA on Instagram. And again, thank you both to New House Restoration and Ticket Time for sponsoring the Tom Marino Show. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So I really appreciate that. And I'm glad to have them as part of the family here. All right. So last week we spoke about people pleasers. Okay. And we talked a lot about, what it was, how do you actually become a people pleaser? Or what does that personality trait really mean? And we came up with a few things. We talked about how it's usually related to maybe some past traumas and abuse. It's related to self-confidence and self-esteem. And the lower your self-confidence and self-esteem, the more likely you are to be a people pleaser. And it's really a personality trait that causes a lot of resentment and anger and frustration. And of course, stress and anxiety and a slew of other things. And it really builds relationships in a false way. It actually makes for a weaker relationship. And the reason that I was provoked to talk about this last week was, I've been seeing a lot of new clients that are coming out of relationships where they said they've been giving and giving and giving, and they've been so agreeable. And now it's totally backfired on them. They've seen that the relationship that they formed with someone was really not good. If you want a strong relationship with someone, you cannot be agreeable all of the time. If you're agreeable all of the time, it's not good. It's going to build a relationship that is based on false evidence. It's going to be based on false ideas, false thoughts. Because if you never express who you are, it's going to be very, very difficult to form a relationship with somebody else. Because the most important thing that you need to know is yourself. And you need to be confident in yourself. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, as a continuation really of our conversation last week on people pleasing, is why it is so important to say no to people. I did a post last week about saying no, and I came up with some questions that you should ask yourself to help you say no. But I want you to understand why it's important to say no. Saying no establishes boundaries, right? Boundaries are, they demonstrate that you're willing to accept in a relationship and how you expect to be treated. They are important for the relationship dynamics, for your mental health well-being. They help you to create expectations for what you really want and what you really need. Boundaries are important, and no is a boundary. Say no means you're limiting your stress. Because if you take on too much, I'm sure there's somebody right now that's listening to this and you're driving home from work maybe, and you just feel like all of the work is piling up. How much of that work that you've taken on recently is because you were not able to say no? How did you get here? Was it because you didn't say no? I help people all the time to learn how to say no. Because no is important. If you say yes all the time, and you say yes to the wrong things, it is only going to create more stress for yourself. Saying no also reduces the level of resentment that you feel. Because if you say yes when you really want to say no, you may end up resenting the person who made the request. You may resent your partner. I have worked with a lot of couples and a lot of people who have gone through difficult relationships, difficult marriages, and there is often a layer of resentment. So I bring up for that person is that layer of resentment due to you always saying yes and agreeing with your partner. Is that the reason why you are here? Is because you did not know how to say no to things. And now because you didn't, you're resenting that person. Saying no can also limit regret. Because if you say yes to things that don't align with your goals and your values, you may experience regret in the future. But being able to say no means that you'll have more time to devote your energy to the things that really matter to you. You'll have more time for the things that really matter to you. That's why you need to say no. You need to say no so you don't regret it later, so you don't resent the person. Saying no will stop all of that. It'll reduce your stress. So, all right. Why is saying no so hard though? Right? Let's acknowledge this, right? We need to acknowledge that saying no is not easy, right? You don't say no because you don't want to upset others. We talked about this last week. You don't want to feel guilty. And you think that you can handle it. You think you can handle it. Even though it feels like too much, you might assume that you can handle it. Or you might want to be known as the person who can handle it, right? We get caught up in that busy badge again. And that stops us from saying no because we think we can handle it. And the reality is you can't handle it. And that is okay. You don't have to handle it all. Because what it does is it's just going to open a lot of projects for you. It's going to keep a lot of things open and you're never going to get anything done. And then you're going to feel overwhelmed because you're never getting anything done. So don't take it on because you want to prove that you can handle it. All right, so we're going to continue talking about how to say no after the commercial break. But in the meantime, I want you to go on Instagram right now if you can and follow me at Tom Marino Coaching. That's at Tom Marino Coaching. And DM me if you have a question, if you struggle with pleasing, if you struggle with not being able to say no. You could also text me, 516-588-0750. That's 516-588-0750. Text me if you struggle with saying no, and let's set up a time to chat, and I will help you to say no. All right, we'll talk to you right after this break.
Here come bad news, talking this and that.
Hey, this this is Tom Marino of The Tom Marino Show here. Imagine you wake up and you've had a major sewer backup in your home. Well, let me tell you about a company that I've worked with personally, New House Restoration, where they take your damaged old house and make it a new house. For any water, fire, mold, or asbestos damage, please call them at 631-604-8590. That's 631-604-8590. New House Restoration.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel.
And welcome back to the Tom Marino Show. I'm your host, success and mindset strategy coach, Tom Marino. Thank you so much for tuning back in on this Thursday afternoon, August 4th, 2022. Listen, I hope that you all having a great day out there. I hope that you've had a great week. You know, we've been talking today about how to say no and the importance and why you need to say no, because we've been talking about people pleasing last week. We're continuing that conversation here today because I think it's so important. So many people are stressed and overwhelmed because they can't say no. They want to be the hero. They want to handle it all. And what happens is you stress yourself out because you're not putting yourself first. When you don't say no, you are not taking care of you, especially when you want to say no. And that's what we're really talking about here, is when you want to say no, and you know you should say no. Don't let it be something that you say yes to, and then you get overwhelmed and stressed, and then you're pulling your hair out, and you're burnt out, and you're stressed out. Start saying no to start saying no to things that you need to say no to, and stop saying yes to the wrong things. Only say yes to the right things. Only say yes to the right things. That's what you need to focus on. So when should we say no to people? Well, there's a lot of times when we should say no, especially when you find yourself struggling to say no. It pretty much means you need to say no. That's when you should say no. When you are really resisting and really want to say no, but it's so hard to say no and you say yes instead, that's a sign. That adds pressure. You know, if you're, let's say at work, if you're having trouble saying no at work, it's, you know, you got to remind yourself that you need to use your time to do your best possible on the things you're working on and focused on. Because when we say yes to the things we should say no to, that causes us to be distracted and we lose focus. So recognize that saying no is only going to make more distraction for you and lose your focus, because you don't have to handle it all. In your relationships, saying no to your partner can be really challenging. But sometimes it means that you just need to set boundaries. If you're struggling to say no, it's because you lack the boundaries that are needed. So you need to start to have you need to create the boundaries with your partner. And that will help your partner better understand what it is that you need. Okay? And ultimately, what does it do? It strengthens your relationship. It makes your relationship better. And that's what it should do. You know, with friends and family, sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes it's because you don't want to disappoint them. But even though you know that it's best for you, you have to say no. You might need to opt out of something because it's not a good situation for you. The key is remember yourself first. Because if you go into a situation where, especially family situations can be very stressful. And if you know that that's not going to be good for you and you're not prepared for it, then you got to say no to it, because you're only going to continue to struggle in that. So say no to things that you really, especially in your family, if you're struggling, and I'm talking like the extended family things. Don't avoid your own family, but work on the boundaries in your own family. It's important to work on boundaries with your kids. You have to have those boundaries with your kids. If you don't have those boundaries with your kids, you're taking on and consuming a lot of extra stress. So, you know, last week I wrote a post that I put on LinkedIn about questions that you should ask yourself when you are struggling to say no. Okay, because it's not easy. There are a lot of people out there that are people pleasers. And there's 3 questions that I would encourage you to ask. The first is, if I say yes to this, does it align with my values? Does it align with what I value? If the thing that someone is asking me to do does not align with what I value, don't do it. Say no. That's a fact. You can make your values the fact for why you're not saying yes to somebody. Because if your values don't align, what happens? We've talked about this in the past. When your values don't align, you have conflict. And when you have conflict, you create stress for yourself. Now, what it may open your eyes to is maybe that the person that's asking you doesn't value what you value. And in order for you to take care of you, you need to say no because it doesn't align with what you value. So the first question is does this align with my values? Does it align with what I value? Okay. The second question is what time and energy is this going to take away from the important thing that I'm supposed to be doing if I say yes? If I say yes to help somebody move over the weekend, and I really need to say no because I have so many things to do in my house, and it's not going to be good if I give all of my time and my energy and my effort to that person to help them move, I'm going to resent being there. I'm not going to be happy to be there. I'm not going to do it with the love in my heart and the kindness that I have to help someone. But you can decide what you say yes to and what you say no to. That's what you have to recognize. You have a choice in this. You have a choice in saying yes or no. But sometimes because of the people pleaser, because of that pleasing, we feel like that is not an option for us to say no. And that's what has to change, is we have to learn how to say no. And remember, it's a choice to say no. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. The third question I would encourage you to ask, and this could come across a little selfish, but it's the truth. Would this person do the same for me? Would this person do the same for me? And it's not judging the other person. It's really speaking to facts and reality. Because if you've asked somebody to do something for you before in the past, and they've demonstrated they wouldn't do it for you, then why would you do it for them? Especially when you're in the midst of your own stress and you have your things to do. 9 times out of 10, you know that other person would not do that for you. Especially when it's the person that shouldn't be asking you to do something, right? So the two questions that precede that, what time and energy, and does it align with my values? Does it align with what I'm supposed to be doing? And that person is probably the one asking, and you don't agree on the first two. Most likely, 9 times out of 10, that other person is not going to do it for you. But you need to recognize that. You need to understand that. So, there's other questions that you can ask yourself, like, are there challenges that are going to come up because I said yes? Am I going to be very challenged by this experience because I said yes when I should have said no? Is it going to be a difficult task for me? Is it something that I really don't need to take on right now? This is where you need to know your own boundaries and your own limits, okay? So I hope that this has helped you to say no a little bit more firmly. Right? Because when saying no, you want to be firm, you want to be clear, and you don't want to make excuses. That's something that's really important too. Don't make excuses. Just say the truth. I'm sorry, I'm not available. Because you may be available time-wise, but if you're not available emotionally, you're not available. There's no lying in that. That's the truth. So don't make excuses. Be firm, be clear, say no. Reduce your stress, reduce the opportunity for regret, and you will live a lot better. You'll live a lot happier. All right, so go to tommarino.com, fill out a contact form, especially if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a business owner, and you're stressed out and you're saying no to a lot of jobs that you should be saying, you're saying yes to a lot of jobs that you should be saying no to. Definitely reach out to me. You can text me at 516-588-0750. That's 516 888-588-0750. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Make sure you take some time for yourself. And until next time, this is Tom Marino saying, choose your adrenalized life.
Don't hold it back.